The world of Eloria was full of green fields, soft winds, and shining rivers. People there lived in peace for many years. They loved music, painting, stories, and learning. They believed war was something from the past. People had no soldiers and no weapons. They did not think they needed them. But they were wrong. Far away, across the stars, came a different kind of people. These people did not care about peace. They believed in power. They wanted to take, not to build. They sent men with guns and ships to the quiet worlds. Colony after colony fell. Towns were burned. Families were broken. The peaceful people had no way to fight back. Eloria heard the news too late. Their nearby sister world was taken. No message came from there again. Some of their own ships were taken or lost in space. Fear grew fast. In the capital city, many people stood in silence. They knew what would come next in the royal hall. Queen Leora sat on her silver chair. Her long black hair fell down her back. She looked strong, but her hand shook a little. She had ruled Eloria for 10 years. She was known for being wise and kind. But now her world was dying, and she had no way to stop it. Her advisors spoke of hiding, of surrender, of calling for help. But who would help them? She had sent messages to nearby colonies. But they were also afraid or under attack. The queen looked up to the sky. She knew there was one last chance a long time ago. Earth had sent people into space. Some said Earth was a wild place, full of storms, hunger, fire, and war. It was called a death world because only the strongest could live there. Over time, Earth had stopped talking to the rest of the galaxy. No one knew why. Some said Earth was gone. Some said Earth had become quiet by choice. Queen Leora did not believe in stories, but she believed in hope. She stood in front of the message tower. Her voice was calm and clear as she spoke. She called out to the stars. She spoke to Earth. She said her people needed help. She said they had no weapons, only hearts full of hope. She asked for anyone who still had strength, anyone who could fight, to come and help her world. The message flew into the deep, dark space. Days passed, then weeks. No one answered. Some people began to leave their homes. Some gave up. Others waited. Then one day, a message came. It was short and direct. It said, "We heard you. We are coming." No one knew who sent it. The code was old and strong. It came from the outer edges of space, from a direction no ship had come for many years. The people of Eloria stood in the streets looking at the sky. They asked each other if it was real. The queen stood in her tower, her face still, her heart unsure. A week later, the sky over Eloria changed. A single black ship appeared. It did not look like the soft round ships of Eloria. It was hard and sharp like a blade. It moved like a hunter. Her face was marked with old scars. Her eyes were cold, but her steps were calm. Her name was Nora Fields. She said she came from Earth. She said she brought help. Behind her came others. Men and women in dark clothes, each with tools and weapons. Their ship was small, but strong. The people of Eloria stared at them. Some were afraid, some were hopeful. The queen walked forward to meet Nora. "Are you here to save us?" the queen asked. "No," Nora said. "We are here to help you fight that day." Something changed in Eloria. The people who had never seen war now stood beside those who were born from it. The ones who had lived in peace now looked at the eyes of the Deathworlders. They knew they were not alone anymore. Because when Eloria called for aid, someone had heard. and those who answered came not from gentle stars, but from the hardest world of all. They came from Earth, and they came ready to fight. Nora Fields walked through the streets of Eloria with her team behind her. People moved out of the way as they passed. Some looked with fear, others with curiosity. The Earth team was small, only 10 people had come. But they moved like they had done this many times before. Each one wore dark armor that looked old but strong. Their eyes were always moving. Their hands were never far from their weapons. Queen Leora watched them from the tower window. She had never seen people like this before. They looked like shadows of war. Their faces showed no fear. They had seen pain. They had lived in fire. She sent a message asking Nora to come speak with her in the royal hall. Nora agreed in the hall. Leora stood alone while the guards waited outside. She wanted to meet this woman face to face without others listening. Nora walked in without a bow or greeting. Her boots hit the floor hard. She looked around once, then stood in front of the queen. "You came when no one else did," the queen said. "We came because we heard the call," Nora answered. "Why did you come?" Leora asked again. "Because we were made for this," Nora said. Leora looked at her closely. "You're not like us." "No, we are not," Nora said. "We come from Earth. Earth is not soft. It burns. It breaks. It teaches you to survive or die. We are the ones who learn to survive. Can 10 of you stop an army?" the queen asked. "No," Nora said, "but we do not plan to stop it. We plan to kill it." That answer made Leora pause. She had never heard someone speak so coldly about death, but she did not turn away. She knew this woman might be the only one who could save them. "What do you need?" the queen asked. "We need space to work," Nora said. "We need your people to listen. And we need you to be ready to change. Change how Leora asked you live in peace. You build beauty. But beauty alone does not protect you. You must learn to fight." Leora did not answer right away. She looked down at her hands. They were soft. They had only held books and flowers. But now they must hold the future. "Show us then," she said. Nora nodded once. She turned and left the hall. That night, she and her team began to work. They set up a base outside the city. They started building weapons from what little metal Eloria had. They trained with old parts and smart hands. Derek Cole, the engineer of the team, led the work. He taught Elorian builders how to turn farming tools into traps. He showed them how to make walls that could stop attacks. He never smiled, but he worked harder than anyone. Nora took the strongest men and women into training fields. She showed them how to move, how to hide, how to strike. Some cried, some ran, some stayed. Nora pushed them harder than they had ever been pushed before. She corrected, she fought them herself. When they fell, she helped them get back up. The people began to change. Not all. Some still hoped peace would return. Some still feared the Deathworlders. But others began to see the truth. Peace was not enough. Hope was not enough. They needed strength. A boy named Leo watched every training day. He was too young to fight, but he watched from the trees. One day Nora walked over to him. "Why do you watch?" she asked. "Because I want to be strong," he said. "You will be," Nora said. "But only if you stop watching and start doing." She gave him a wooden stick and told him to practice. Every day he did, even when he was tired, even when others laughed. Derek saw him too. One night, he gave Leo a small tool. He said, "If you learn to fix this, you can fix anything." Leo did not sleep that night. He worked until morning. The queen walked through the camps often. She spoke to the people. She listened to their fear and their new fire, watched the Deathworlders, and began to understand them. They were not just warriors. They were protectors. They had seen the worst of life. They had chosen not to run from it one night. Nora stood with the queen on the wall of the city. They looked at the stars. "Do you think they are close?" Leora asked. "Yes." Nora said, "They are coming. Can we stop them?" Leora asked. "Yes," Nora said, "but not without loss." "I am ready," the queen said. "You must be," Nora said, "because war does not care who is ready." Below them, the people of Eloria trained with wooden swords and metal tools. They ran through drills. They built towers and dug traps. They had once been soft. But now, they were learning not everyone would make it. But those who stayed would be stronger. Because now they stood with warriors from a world where weakness meant death. And those warriors did not come to save them. They came to make them strong because Eloria had called for aid, and Earth had answered. The days passed, and the sky over Eloria stayed quiet. But Nora knew silence never lasted long. She had seen this before on other worlds. First came silence, then fire. She trained harder and worked faster. She pushed her team and the people of Eloria every hour of the day. Derek Cole had built new defenses around the city. They were simple, but strong. Steel walls with sharp edges, hidden wires that could trap or burn. He used parts from broken ships and farming machines. He worked day and night without sleep. When someone asked him why he worked so hard, he said, because someone has to keep the line from breaking. The people began to follow his way. The farmers became builders. The builders became fighters. The children watched and learned. No one called it peace anymore. Now they called it survival. Nora saw progress, but she knew it was not enough. 10 people from Earth could not hold the world. They needed more. She sent messages through deep space. She called out to the old Earth network. Most were silent, but a few answered. Some were pilots, some were fighters, some were medics. They were not an army, but they were enough to help. One ship came with a man named Clay. He flew an old fighter with burn marks across its wings. He said he once flew through storms for sport. Oh, he flew to protect. Another ship brought a woman named Mia. She carried heavy tools and a face full of scars. She said she fixed ships in space while bombs fell. Now she came to fix Eloria. Nora met them all at the landing zone. She gave them no soft words. She only said welcome and gave them jobs. Each one joined the fight like they had always belonged. The Queen saw them arrive and spoke to Nora again. You called and they came. She said yes. Nora said, because Earth does not forget. Why do they still fight? Leora asked. Because pain teaches, and loss stays, Nora answered. She did not speak like a ruler. She spoke like someone who had lost too much. Leora began to understand her in a way no one else had. They were different, but they shared something deep. They both stood for their people and carried the weight alone. One morning the sky changed. A dark shape moved across the clouds. It was a ship, then another, then more. 20 in total. It did not speak or send messages. They only moved toward the world like wolves hunting. The alarms rang across the city. Nora stood on the wall and watched. She did not move. She waited. The Queen stood beside her. Are they coming to speak? She asked. No, Nora said. They are coming to take. What do we do now? The Queen asked. We fight, Nora said. The city gates closed. The traps were set. The soldiers stood in place. The builders picked up tools that were now weapons. Even the young ones stood ready with messages and supplies. Nora gave orders without shouting. Derek ran wires and checked the power lines. Mia loaded machines that would keep the walls standing. Clay flew his ship high and waited in the clouds like a hawk. The enemy ships landed far from the city, but their soldiers came fast. They wore armor and carried guns. Their faces showed no care. They thought Eloria would fall like the others, but the ground burned when they stepped on it. The traps exploded. Fire lines lit up. Walls stood strong where once there were only flowers. And behind those walls were people who had learned to fight. The first wave hit the wall. Nora and her team led the defense. She moved with speed and force. Her eyes stayed cold. She shot only when needed. She told others where to go and what to hold. She did not break. Derek fought with wires and machines. He lit up the ground under enemy boots. He blocked their paths. He opened fire gates that turned the land into smoke. He did not stop even when his arm bled. Clay flew low and fast. His ship dropped fire from the sky. He cut their lines. He confused their ranks. He kept the sky above Eloria free inside the city. The Queen moved among the people. She did not hide. She helped carry the wounded. She spoke to the ones who wanted to run. She gave them reason to stay. Her voice became a sword sharper than any blade. The enemy pushed harder. More came. Their guns hit the walls. The ground shook, but the defenders held. One farmer named Ben took down a whole squad with only 2 tools and a wall he had built himself. A girl named Rose carried water and supplies through fire. A teacher named Leo led a group of children to safety, then returned to help hold the West Tower. Nora saw them all and felt something inside her move. These were not her people, but they fought like Deathworlders. They had learned the lesson of pain. They had chosen to stand by night. The ground was covered with smoke and fire, but the wall still stood. The enemy pulled back. They had not won. They had not broken. Eloria Nora walked through the smoke. She found the queen near the main square. Her dress was torn, her hands were dirty, but she stood tall. "You did not run," Nora said. "Neither did you." The queen said. They looked at each other, and for the first time, Nora gave a small nod, not a smile. But something close. The first battle was over. More would come. But now the enemy knew this was not an easy world. This was a world that had called to Earth, and Earth had answered. The sun rose over Eloria, and the smoke still floated in the air. The walls were cracked, but still standing. People walked slowly through the streets. Some carried tools. Some helped the wounded. Some just looked at the sky. The first attack had passed, but no one felt safe. They knew it was only the beginning. The enemy had tested their strength, and now they would return with more. Nora stood at the gate and looked at the land beyond. Her hands were cut. Her armor was scratched. Her face was calm. Beside her stood Derek. He had been up all night fixing the power lines and traps. He did not speak much, but when he did, people listened. He looked at the wall, then looked at Nora. "They will come again and harder," he said. "Then we hold again," Nora answered. The queen came to meet them. Her eyes were tired, but her voice was strong. "What do you need?" she asked. "Time, Derek," said men. Nora said. She turned to the queen. "Your people fought well, but they need more training. They need more weapons. They need to believe they can win." The queen nodded. "I will give you everything we have. We need more than what you have," Nora said. "We need everyone to fight." "Even the weak?" the queen asked. "Especially the weak," Nora said. "They are the ones who have something left to lose." That day, Eloria changed again. Nora and her team trained everyone. Old men learned to carry tools. Women who once sang in the streets now stood in line with shields. Children learned to pass messages fast and clear. Clay took young pilots into the sky. Mia taught healers how to fix machines and bodies. Derek built new towers with bricks made from broken ships. Every hand was used. Every mind was needed. The enemy ships stayed far away, but they watched. Every night their lights blinked in the sky. Every night Nora looked up and waited. She knew they were waiting till the second attack came at night. No warning. No sound. Just fire. The east wall exploded. 3 towers fell. The city shook. The enemy had learned to win. Now they used new weapons. Faster, stronger, deadlier, but the defenders did not run. They moved fast. They followed the drills. They fought back. Nora led from the front. She moved through smoke and fire. Her team followed without fear. She threw fire bombs and pulled injured men from the line. She did not sleep. She did not stop. Derek turned the old water pipes into flame traps. He blocked the enemy path with walls of heat. When one of the towers began to fall, he stood under it and held the line with only 5 builders beside him. Mia kept the power alive. When the lights went dark, she climbed the tower alone and fixed it in the rain. She was hurt, but she kept working. Her hands bled, but she smiled when the lights came back. Clay flew through the storm. Enemy ships chased him, but he pulled them away from the city. He led them into the canyon, then vanished behind the cliffs. Hours later, he returned with a broken wing, but no one on his tail. The queen stood with her guards near the west gate. When a wall broke, she grabbed a blade and stepped forward. Her people saw her and followed. They'd never seen their queen fight. Now they would never forget. One of the fighters from Earth named Liam was shot near the center square. A boy named Tom, who once sold bread, dragged him back and stopped the bleeding. He had never held a weapon, but he held the life of a man who had saved his city. That night, Tom stood with a shield and watched the gate himself. The second battle lasted until morning. The enemy left behind broken machines and silence. Eloria stood once again. Nora sat by the fire and cleaned her blade. Derek brought her water. "You need rest," he said. Later, Nora said the queen joined them. "You said we needed to be ready to change," she said. "And you did," Nora said. "Do you think we can win this?" the queen asked. "We are not dead yet," Nora said. "That means we still have a chance. What will they do now?" the queen asked. "They will come again," Nora said. "They cannot accept that we stood against them." "Then we will stand again," the queen said. Nora looked at her, and for the first time there was respect in her eyes. Not for a ruler, but for a fighter. Eloria was no longer the same world. The gardens still grew and the rivers still ran, but now the people had something else. They had fire in their hearts, they had pain in their hands. They had the will to fight, and above all, they had hope. Not the soft kind that waits, but the hard kind that stands because they had called for help. And the ones who came had not come to save them. They had come to teach them how to save themselves. The ground of Eloria was black with ash, but life still moved through it. Smoke no longer made the people stop. They had learned to breathe through it. They had learned to fight through it. The enemy had tried twice and failed twice. But Nora knew they would return one last time, and this time they would send everything. Derek stood at the edge of the city and looked at the machines being built. Children helped carry metal plates. Old men turned broken parts into weapons. Women carried water and sharpened blades. He remembered when they had nothing. Now they had strength. Not because they had better tools, because they had stronger hearts. Nora stood near the command post. Her body was tired. Armor was cracked. Her hand was wrapped in cloth, but her eyes were still sharp. She watched the sky every night. She waited for signs. The last wave would not send scouts or warnings. It would bring the full force. She knew this would be the final battle. The queen stood beside her. She wore black armor now. It was not made for show. It had cuts and dirt. Her crown was gone. She had replaced it with a helmet. She did not look like a ruler anymore. She looked like a soldier. "Are you ready?" the queen asked. "No one is ever ready," Nora said. "But we fight anyway. How many do you think will come?" the queen asked. "As many as they can send," Nora said. "Maybe more, and what if we fall?" the queen asked. "Then we fall standing," Nora said. They walked together along the wall. People stopped to watch them. Some bowed, some nodded, some said nothing. But all of them followed when the two leaders spoke. Nora from Earth, Leora from Eloria. Both strong in their own way, Derek walked through the tower lines and checked the last traps. He gave orders with short words. "Do this, move that. Check again." He stopped near a boy carrying wires. It was Leo. The boy had grown fast in these weeks. His hands moved with skill. Derek gave him a real tool, not a wooden one. "Use this right and you'll save lives," Derek said. Leo nodded. "I will." That night the lights in the sky changed. More ships came. It's bigger than before, hundreds of them, like a sea of metal. They moved with purpose. They came for war. There was no doubt. Nora stood in front of her team. Some had come from far places. Some had come alone. None of them had to be here. But they were. They had seen too many worlds fall. They would not let this one fall without a fight. "This is the line," she said. "This is where we hold. They think they can break us. They think we will run. Show them they are wrong." The people of Eloria stood beside them. They had once been soft. Now they were steel. They had once been afraid. Now they stood with courage. They had learned that hope is not given. It is made. The enemy ships landed in waves. The ground shook. The sky turned red. Fire poured from their cannons. Machines rolled forward. Thousands of soldiers marched in lines. It looked like a storm that would never end. But the defenders did not move. The first strike came at the north wall. Mia kept the towers running. When the power line sparked, she climbed them herself. She fixed broken arms and broken wires. She gave orders and never stopped moving. Derek led the engineers who had become soldiers. He used bombs made from kitchen metal. He used lights to blind the enemy, turned the ground into a weapon. Clay flew higher than before. The enemy chased him with 10 ships. He flew through fire and wind. He made them follow him through the canyon. He dropped fire behind him. He did not return. The queen stood on the central tower. She held a sword in one hand and a shield in the other. Her voice was loud across the walls. She called the people to fight. She called them by name. They answered. Nora moved through the line. She carried a long gun and a short blade. She fought with speed and fire. Her team followed her step by step. They never broke formation. They fought like one body with one will. The battle lasted for hours. Fire turned to smoke. Steel turned to dust. Bodies lay across the fields. But the line held. Then the enemy sent their final wave. The biggest machines, the darkest soldiers, they came with fire that melted the walls. They came with rage that broke the ground. The west gate fell. The enemy rushed through. The people began to pull back. Fear came again. But Nora ran toward the broken gate. She stood in front of it alone. "Come if you want," she shouted. "But know this, you will not leave." They charged at her. She stood her ground. Then Leo and a group of builders ran behind her. They carried wires. They placed them fast. Derek gave the signal. The wires lit up. The fire rose high. The gate turned into a wall of light. The enemy stopped, scattered, then scattered. The last push broke. The enemy could not take the city. They had lost too many. Their ships rose back into the sky. They left as fast as they had come. The battle was over. The fields outside Aloria were full of fire and ash, but the people still stood. The city still stood. The line had not broken. Nora sat on the steps near the square. Her arm was burned. Her leg was cut. But she smiled for the first time in years. Derek sat beside her. He had smoke on his face and dust in his hair. "You did it," he said. "We did it," she said. The queen walked toward them. Her armor was cracked. Her sword was gone. But her eyes were full of pride. "This world lives," she said. "Yes," Nora said. "And now it knows how to fight."